Faith is the gift we have received. And the gift of faith always comes to us through people. It's the only way. We go back, as our second reading proposed to us, to the man of faith named Abraham. About 4,000 years ago was when he first listened to God's call and left his home to journey. And he has the gift of faith was handed down then from generation to generation until today. Each generation depends on the past generation to hand them the gift of faith. You can't get it from a book. And so too, the next generation is depending on us to give to them the gift of faith. So our theme for the stewardship of faith is to learn it, to live it, and to pass it on to the next generation. To know Christ, to know God in the Bible is more than something in the head. It's not knowing facts. It is knowing a person, which means it's a relationship. To know means an intimate relationship with someone. So our tools to grow in our faith, to know about God, are going to be prayer and study. Prayer and study are the two tools to grow in our faith so that we can learn it and live it, meaning to follow Christ, and then to pass it on to the next and the next generation. What Jesus tells us in our gospel, those who have been entrusted with much will be expected from them. And you and I have that tremendous gift of faith. And so God is dependent on us, this generation, for the future. We begin stewardship always with gratitude. We look back and say, who has given the gift of faith to me? We can begin, of course, back with Abraham himself. And we look at the history of salvation. All the people whose names are in the Bible, as well as the more people whose names are not there, but have been faithful in growing their faith and in passing their faith on to their sons and daughters. In my life, I look back at my grandma. What a lady of faith. She and her 4 children, one of whom was my mother, were a powerful example to me of a life of faith, a life centered on Christ, on the church, on God. She was, I guess you'd call her the church holy lady, right? At All Saints Church, first of all, and then in Arvada at St. Anne's Church. She was there so much, the priest gave her a key to the door. Because she was always there. She was a tremendous example to me and inspired in me the gift of faith, as did my mother and my father, who himself was not Catholic, but nevertheless showed me what a life of faith is all about. Of course, in my family, we look back generations at our Irish roots, right? God bless the Irish people. In fact, I have to go back to St. Patrick himself. If he had not been a faithful man that he was a saint, I'm sure I would not be here. So we give thanks. I look at my parish growing up too and how they handed on the gift of faith to me. Monsignor Duffy was our priest. He was known mostly for his 10-minute masses. He was an army chaplain where they had to be pretty quick. He continued that throughout his life, but it was a wonderful example to us. And of course the people of that parish who supported us our school, and our church family. We have been greatly blessed. Who in your life has given to you the gift of faith? Who has been a model of faith for you? Who has taught you and encouraged you and witnessed faith to you, helping you to grow, to know Him, to love Him, and to serve Him? If we include all of our blessings, of course, we had a list last week as well, but it would include our Catholic faith, our church, such rich tradition of prayer that our church has, such depth of thought in the great saints. There's the monks and the monastic traditions. There's the prayer like taught by St. Ignatius and the wonderful Jesuits, as well as the different religious orders. There's meditation, the sacraments, the scriptures, all gifts of the church to us. And even more, recently we've received the Catechism of the Catholic Church, where we can see and read and study and know our faith. There's the writings of the great saints that have been handed on to us through the church. And now, of course, the letters of our popes that we call encyclicals. I'm just amazed, these last 3 popes especially. Wow. What wonderful letters they've written to us about the church. And now, of course, we can get it online. We can download it immediately on our computers. And there's other ways that faith is handed on to us. There's other Christian writers, other faith traditions, our own culture and faith traditions that we've received through family. And there's novelists, there's theologians, there's artists that have handed on faith to us, storytellers, and now in movie forms, right? Or in other ways that we are taught. We can even get an app for our phone, right? There are thousands of them that are about the gift of faith. And although it's kind of old, newspapers and magazines are still a great resource for us to learn and to grow in faith. But the question is, they don't help us if they're just there. They only help us if we open ourselves up to their teaching, if we read or pray or study or learn. We could kind of compare it a little bit. Bronco season is here. And every Sunday, you will spend 3 hours watching the game. And then another probably 5 hours talking about the game. Right? We live for the Broncos. Which is more important? How much time do we spend studying, reflecting upon our faith? Even here in America, where people tend to be a little overweight, we average 2 hours a week exercising. Many Catholics give about half that amount of time to their faith. Are we good stewards of the gift of faith that we have received? Do we learn it and live it so that we can pass it on? Because if we don't learn it, if we don't live it, then we have nothing to pass on. And so the question is, are you a good steward of the gift of faith? Is that primary relationship with God the most important of all? How much time do you spend watching TV? involved in a hobby, perhaps playing games, compared with how much time pursuing Christ? How much time coming to know Him and love Him? We might ask us some practical questions. If you're into computers, you have your browser, right? Or you have bookmarks. Any of those Catholic? Any of those Christian? Or are they about things like, People magazine kinds of information nonsense? We as a parish have a subscription to a web page called Forum, right? We pay the bill for that, or you. How many of you signed up? It is a wonderful web page filled with the best of Catholic books, classes, movies, audio tapes, and so forth. But it does not do us any good if we don't open it up, if we never look. How much time do we spend pursuing Christ? How much time do we spend in that relationship with God? Would it be sufficient to even call Him a friend? Let alone a brother or a Savior. Relationships require time and effort. Are you a good steward of the gift of faith in your life? Perhaps we can do a little better